And now, please give a warm welcome to the cast of the play Macbeth, written by William Shakespeare, coming all this way through a time machine. Oh, hi, how are you guys doing?
Great, great. How are you?
I'm doing lovely, and I'm a big fan of this play. And if you don't mind, Macbeth, can I start off asking you some questions first?
Sure.
All hail Macbeth, hail to thee, vain of Glamis. All hail Macbeth, hail to thee, vain of Cawdor. All hail Macbeth, that shalt be king hereafter. Lesser than Macbeth and greater, not so happy yet much happier. Thou shalt get kings, though thou be none. So all hail Macbeth and Banquo. Macbeth, can you tell me to what extent you understand and trust the prophecies of the three witches?
Well, obviously, initially I had doubts. Just three random people approaching me and telling me I'll be king. Funny. It wasn't until after I was actually named the Thane of Cawdor, like the witches had said, that I truly began to believe the prophecy. I took the prophecy to be more so direct rather than a metaphor.
Oh, I see, Banquo. What about you? How did you understand and trust the prophecies?
Well, there were two parts of the prophecies. One was for Macbeth, and the other one was for me. Very soon after the prophecies, Macbeth became the Thane of Cawdor, so I was considering if the rest of the prophecies would also come true, and the reasons why the witches told us the prophecies. Were they just too kind, or did they want to create chaos by planting the seed of ambition in our hearts? I was concerned about my brave friend Macbeth, who was called the king in the prophecies, to do something that will betray the kingdom, our honor and loyalty. So I said, the instruments of darkness tell us truth, win us with honest trifles, to betray in deepest consequence, to remind and warn my friend, comrade in arms, and my brother Macbeth, not let ambition devour his justice and loyalty. As to my part of the prophecies, I understood them as time passed by, and especially when Macbeth came after me and my sons. Macbeth truly believed the prophecies, and was fearful of the prophecy that was said to me, thou shalt get kings, though thou be none. He was afraid of my descendants taking over his throne like what he did to King Duncan. After days King Duncan died and Macbeth became the King of Scotland, I discovered the meaning of the other two prophecies. Lesser than Macbeth and greater. Not so happy, yet much happier. When Macbeth sent his men to kill me, I completely understood what the witches were saying. Macbeth became the King of Scotland. Therefore, I became the subject of Macbeth. Though I was lesser than Macbeth, Macbeth gave in to his ambition, betrayed the country, the king, and his honor. He lost respect from his people, his friend, and himself. I remained loyal to my country till the last moment before I died. People with discerning eyes would not see Macbeth as a true king, true leader, but as a traitor to his king and country. Therefore, I was greater than Macbeth. I was honored. There were many things that were not so happy. King Duncan was murdered, and my closest friend Macbeth sent his men to kill me and my family. And I understood the witches said I would be much happier after I died. I felt honored and peacefully accepted my death. Yet, as a ghost, I saw Macbeth suffered in relentless torment every day and night. By murdering his king and friend, Macbeth was paranoid, suspecting his subject, family, and friends. Not a single day he enjoyed being the king he dreamt of. Therefore, I was much happier than Macbeth, since I was not so guilty to myself or to anyone.
Thanks, Banquo. Now, Macbeth, can you describe how your belief and loyalty to the king change as time passes through?
I loved Duncan, I truly did. He was noble and a great king. However, after the witches' prophecies, and mostly because of the convincing of Lady Macbeth, I knew that I had to claim the throne as it was my destiny. Obviously then, my loyalties to the king had changed.
That makes sense, thanks, Macbeth. Banquo, what about you? How did your belief and loyalty to the king changes as time passes by.
Let me say this once again. My loyalty to my king and kingdom had never been weakened by 1 centimeter, but not the current King Macbeth. King Duncan was a spiritual leader of the Scotland people, selected by God, a kind, benevolent, visionary monarch. Macbeth, I've told him that I would not follow and support him if I would feel guilty. But look what he had done. Macbeth completely betrayed our beliefs and our country. I could not support a man who murdered his king. Our king. The King of Scotland.
True. Macbeth, can you tell me how your trust in Banquo changed over time?
The trust that me and Banquo had dramatically changed over the last few months. We used to be great friends, but it really bothered me when the witches had said that his descendants would inherit the throne and not mine. I started to suspect him and kept on thinking that he would betray me, though I tried to keep it to myself. I knew he suspected me of killing MacDonald, King Duncan, and the two guards. Once I figured out how easy murder was from killing Duncan, I became paranoid, as I knew that someone could easily be going for me. I took a few of my men to get rid of Banquo at once. They ambushed him while he was riding on his horse and killed him, though his son Fleance managed to escape.
Banquo, can you describe how Macbeth changes over time in your perspective?
Macbeth was a brave knight and noble saint, as well as my close friend. But ever since he heard the prophecies, the evil thoughts started to corrupt his mind, and Macbeth became a devil when he murdered King Duncan with his own hands. The Macbeth I knew was completely gone. His honor and loyalty was all engulfed by his ambition. The Pandora's box in his heart had been opened and could never be closed again. As a ghost, I saw Macbeth suffering and struggling every day and night. The hidden conscience and justice fought against his ambition and cold blood, but he never did anything to make up for his mistakes. Instead, he became more and more tyrannical in his regret and suffering. Macbeth had become a devil that no one could recognize anymore.
Now, for Lady Macbeth, I just want to say that your attitude and defiance towards society's gender norms at the time really impressed me. What motivates you to act in such a way? Are you afraid of standing out and how others will perceive you?
Gender this, gender that. My husband was acting like a coward and I simply did what I needed to do. The weird sisters told him that he would be the Thane of Cawdor and then king. Just moments after this, guess what happened? Ross came by with the news that the old Thane of Cawdor had been accused of treason and the king had appointed Macbeth as his replacement. Was this a coincidence? They were witches. They are magic. So the moment this happened, I knew the prophecy had to be true. Who wouldn't deny the rank of king and queen when it's presented right within your grasp? Only a fool. Truly, it was a joy to have my husband appointed to the noble title of Thane, but he wasn't seeing the bigger picture of how much more we could have become. I just needed to give it a little push, and to do that, I needed to solidify my authority. Would acting like a gentle, submissive woman get me anywhere? No, I had no choice. I needed to feel as though I had been unsexed to persuade him to do what was best for our future.
Very clever, Lady Macbeth. Now, witches. I've always been curious as to why you told Macbeth such prophecies in the first place. What benefits are you attempting to achieve in doing this?
A common misconception that is associated with this is the implied desire to see Macbeth prosper. Ha! What blasphemy! We couldn't care less to see this man as king. By filling Macbeth's heart with murder and dark ambition was to ensure that his soul would reside with Satan. By telling him that he would eventually obtain the throne, instead of letting him simply live his life, filled his mind with dark ideas and potential treasonous plans. All it took was a little push from Lady Macbeth, and we had him. We watched him murder the king and ultimately claim the throne. You would have thought he would have been satisfied. But you know human nature. It is never enough. People always want more. Thou shalt get kings, though thou shalt be none. Although he was now king, the idea that Banquo's descendants would inherit the throne instead of him started to eat away at his mind, and eventually he made the right decision. Seeing him murder his best friend Banquo filled us with shimmering joy. Everything had gone according to plan. We had turned him into a deceitful and treacherous murderer, and for the finishing touch, none of woman born shall harm Macbeth. Macbeth shall never be vanquished until great Birnam Wood to high Dunsinane Hill shall come against him. We filled him with the greatest, uttermost delicious sin, pride. After this, his downfall was inevitable. Although we warned him about Macduff, his ego simply shook him off as nothing but a harmless pest, and after he was finally slayed by Macduff, our job was done. Our supernatural forces were the only way to guarantee the darkening of Macbeth's soul, ultimately destroying all chances of heaven after death and ensuring his arrival at hell for our Lord and Savior, Satan.
Pretty interesting concept on morality. Macduff, do you regret what you did that caused your family to die?
For my family, I'm very guilty that I did not protect them and keep them safe. But I have to give up them because there are hundreds and thousands of people who live on the land that need my protection. I cannot leave them to have their life under the tyrant. So I ran away to find Malcolm, who is one of King Duncan's sons, and help him to he heir to his throne. I lead an army against Macbeth. The lucky thing is, I killed him by my hand. I got my revenge successfully, but my family can never come back.
Quite tragic. Malcolm, how did you feel about the old King Macbeth?
He is a good person, a brave warrior, but also he is easy to control. He killed my father, his brother, because he trusts what the three witches were saying. He became an angry god after he got a crown. He goes on a murderous rampage when he hears Banquo's descendants would be kings. He is so evil. He killed Macduff's family because Macduff came to find me and help me. Finally, he is totally mad. He starts to doubt everyone who is around him. He loses his mind and becomes more and more trust the witch's predication. The kingdom becomes weaker under his control. Therefore, I'm so fortunate he is killed by Macduff.
By the way, how did you feel about Macduff?
He is justiciable and loyal to my father, King Duncan. He did not betray us even when he saw my father die. He came to find me and help me to be a king. Unfortunately, his family is killed by Macbeth. I will remember his fate forever for his justice and his family's sacrifice.
Thank you guys so much and have a great rest of your day.